Hi, and welcome to another episode of Branding and the Beast, Season 3, Episode 5. My name is Alicia DeSantis, owner of 38th and Kip Studio, a branding, graphic design, and illustration studio. And my co-host...
Oh, that's me. Okay, hi. I thought you were waiting for the other guy to show up.
Okay, I know it's Monday morning, but I'm very confused.
You could have found a better co-host. I mean, I saw the auditions. There were some good talent that showed up.
Oh, I didn't see the auditions.
Oh, well, I held them privately, but I mean, I guess no one can really, replace all this. Please leave this in. My name is Sean Bernstein. I am the Right Stuff Agency, WRITE. I'm a content writer and ghostwriter, and I make your business sound as good as it looks.
Nice to see you again.
Good to see you.
Last I saw you, I was in Canada, and we were chatting about this show upcoming, and it had to be rescheduled a few times because our guests are very busy people, as I'm sure all of our listeners are. But nonetheless, we prevailed.
Yeah, Alicia experienced part of a Canadian summer, which means we do not stay inside. Actually, it was cold when you were here, funny enough. The weather wasn't great. It has since warmed up, and when that happens, no one is reachable. That's just how we roll.
So today, we are talking about traditional media, something we have never really talked about. I mean, dabbled here and there throughout various episodes, but we didn't really talk about billboards and commercials and radio spots and all those things that make the world go round.
No, it hasn't really come up. It's and it's funny because my background is traditional media from a journalism standpoint, but I don't have a lot of interaction, a lot of history with this end of things. The little that I know is probably outdated and probably wrong, so I'm excited to learn a lot of new information.
Yeah, same here. And as I was researching this episode, and after talking with the guest that I invited on the show, Bryan, there's so much discussion that traditional media is dead. Traditional media is dead. No one cares anymore. And I'm thinking, this morning, as I was preparing for this show, I was thinking, you got to be crazy to think traditional media is dead. What is the single biggest event in American entertainment every year?
Commercials.
Super Bowl commercials. Yep. What are Super Bowl commercials? Traditional media.
Yep.
The commercial spots paid to the network that broadcasts the Super Bowl. And so much of the year's themes and media and culture come from that one event.
Well, and I think it's interesting because, now when we think of those, we think of audience, we also think of budget. Oh my goodness, they paid how many millions of dollars for 30 seconds of airtime? Most TV commercials that you see don't work quite like that, but there are still a lot of steep budgets involved, as I understand this world. There's a lot of budget needed for effective TV, effective radio, etc., etc. So that's why I'm really curious to talk to our guests about what those budgets actually look like on a smaller business budget, on a smaller business spend, and what you can do in the traditional world. Because I had this conversation with Chloe, who I have brought into this podcast briefly, but I'm curious to really pick her brain a little bit further.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I was thinking of some brands in regards to the Super Bowl, the Super Bowl really was a make or break moment for them. And one of them was Oatly. I don't know. Do you have Oatly in Canada?
Yeah, I know Oatly.
Do you know the commercial spot from that?
No, we don't get the secret in Canada is we do not get the US commercials by and large. Oh. Sometimes they air here, but they usually don't. You can try to pick up a US feed, but it's harder to do because they try to edit it out. Yeah, so we will watch them online the next day.
Oh, okay.
And Canadian ones are bigger because the audience is there, but they're not US commercial.
Got it. Well, this one, if you remember it, if you've seen it in passing, it's one of the founders of Oatly, and he's just playing this little ditty on a keyboard in the middle of like a field, and it's just that's it. It's maybe like 15 seconds or something of him playing a song about Oatly, and it was weird and it was like kind of cringy, but it catapulted Oatly into this whole new brand of like quirkiness and what people think of when they think of an oat milk brand. So we're going to talk about the power of, they shelled out a lot of money for that Super Bowl spot, but they had big rewards.
That is incredibly weird. And so it, leads to that connection of, okay, what's the nexus here? Like, what the heck does that guy playing ukulele or guitar in a field have to do with oat milk? I don't know. But, it's intrinsically tied. And you see that with, a lot of traditional media campaigns. I've told you the Winston story, right?
Mm-mm. No.
So this is a good story, and this will be a good story for the podcast. And I think I might have told Chloe, but I'll tell it officially on the show before our guests arrive. So I was at a marketing seminar, a sales training seminar, probably at least 20 years ago. I think I was a teenager. And I was in the time, trying to learn the sales trade. And I was there with my parents, and, they were learning as well. And the fellow was speaking on stage, and there's probably 1,000+ people in the room. I mean, really, really big audience. And he was saying how really good traditional media campaigns and really good ad campaigns stick with us through generations. And they're so tied to core moments in our life and in our, in our own personal era as a generation. And he said, I'm going to give you a test. He said, everybody under 30 stand up. And there are probably 2-3 dozen of us out of 1,000 people. It was an older crowd. And he said, I'm going to give you the first line of a commercial, and everybody sitting down is going to know it cold, and everyone standing up is going to have no clue what I'm talking about. And, this is the bet that I'm making to the crowd. Everyone sort of starts to clap. And he starts with the line, Winston tastes good. And I shout back from the audience like a cigarette should. Because it's an old 60s campaign. I knew it from watching the Flintstones, I believe, when I was a kid. He almost fell over. He said no one under 30 knows that. Cigarette advertising has been out of vogue for decades now. And had been even at the time for decades. But, he's right in that it sticks with anybody, of the boomer generation would have known the rest of that slogan. Classic traditional media. But sometimes it does, move through generations, and things do stick around. We are still following ad campaigns that our parents and grandparents knew, and ones that are brought back because they are, so catchy and so memorable and can now unite generations.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Branding and the Beast. We have our wonderful guests here, which we are so excited about. I bring Bruce C. Bryan, and Sean brings Chloe, and I'm realizing right now I don't know how to pronounce your last name. So can you pronounce?
Oh, I can help you with that. Gravelle.
It's
Gravelle. Okay.
It's Bryan. Just so you know.
So, yes, thank you for being on our show. We are talking about traditional media. And before we dive too far into that, I would like to introduce my guest, Bruce. So let me pull up his bio here briefly. So Bruce is a seasoned entrepreneur, connector, and storyteller with a passion for helping others succeed. After starting his career in the restaurant industry, he spent decades in broadcasting as a sales manager, transforming underperforming regions into record-setting teams. This approach earned him the National Association of Broadcasters Best of Best Sales Idea Award in 2006, which I'm interested to talk to you about that more at some point. In 2009, he founded 5 Points Creative, an award-winning marketing firm that has received 16 Telly Awards and serves a diverse client base, including architecture, engineering, construction, and senior living. On top of that, he is a dedicated community leader serving as a founding board member of a national nonprofit, Help Save the Next Girl, and the Spot on Kirk, a nonprofit listening room in downtown Roanoke. He also serves on the board of directors for Healing Strides of Virginia. I personally have been to the Spot on Kirk. It's where the cool people go. So if you are in Roanoke and want to see a cool show, the Spot on Kirk. And I would also like to add that Bruce just published a book, which is extremely exciting. I can't even imagine doing something like that. So let me share a little bit about this book, Turning Tables. So, ever wonder what makes a great server so unforgettable? It's more than just a friendly smile. It's adaptability, hustle, and the ability to read the room in an instant. His book, Turning Tables, reveals how the skills sharpened in food service, so teamwork, resilience, top-tier customer service, are the same ones that drive success in any career. Whether you're in hospitality, climbing the corporate ladder, or hiring a winning team, this book connects the dots between restaurant life and professional excellence. Packed with real stories and actionable insights, Turning Tables serves up the secret ingredients to thriving in business. No reservations required. So Bruce, where can we get your book?
So I'm told that the best place to start is Barnes & Noble online, but you can buy it wherever fine books are sold and wherever you like to buy books. So it's coming out officially on September 30th, but they're doing pre-orders now.
Nice. Congratulations.
That was a really long introduction. I think we might be out of time. Perhaps,
It's okay. We just, Sean, Chloe's bio is as long, if not longer. So I will send it over to you.
I will take it away. It's not so bad.
I'm kidding.
Let me time it, see how I get there. Alicia, you're embarrassing our guest.
Talk really slow.
Some host.
I thought I had to beef up my bio after that. I'm like, dang, Bruce.
I just was sitting here going, this is horrible.
We're honored to have both of you. It's not a competition, friends.
Thank goodness.
Isn't it?
The Canadians would win. The Canadians would win. We know it.
Well, let's see how this goes. With over 20 years of experience, Chloe Gravelle is a results-driven marketing strategist known for aligning media and creative to deliver measurable business impact. Her work spans automotive, retail, finance, and attractions, developing integrated campaigns that resonate across regional, national, and international markets. Chloe brings a collaborative entrepreneurial mindset and a roll-up-your-sleeves leadership style that empowers teams and builds momentum across organizations. She specializes in turning insights into action, ensuring every strategy is both creatively compelling and commercially effective. Currently a marketing consultant and fractional CMO at Identify Consulting, she leads multi-channel strategies focused on digital efficiency and executive-level business alignment. Previously, as VP of Strategy at Dentsu's Creative, she led major brand initiatives for Honda Acura, Taco Bell, and RBC, strengthening social strategy and agency capabilities. How did I do? I hope it was a good cold read, but I think that's a pretty impressive bio. I'm
impressed with Taco Bell.
RBC is a big deal up here, Alicia.
Yeah, I was impressed with the read, but really the background. Mercy sakes, that's you've got quite the bona fides, as they say here in Virginia.
That's sweet. That's very kind and generous coming from you, Bruce. Oh my heavens! So, now I'm blushing too. Good grief.
Well, okay. So let's continue down this path. So, Chloe, how did you get involved in traditional media in the first place?
Well, so to age myself. Back in the day, that was the thing, right? So, I remember, I have a huge agency background, and I remember doing a whole bunch of work in digital. I was lucky that I came from a dev shop background, so I understood code really well, and I could project manage really well, and I could think things through pretty well. But I remember we used to have to shoot content, and you had these big TV budgets. I kid you not. Like, the TV folks had like $3 million. And then you're like, great, I have to do some social content. And they'd be like, you have $150. And you're like, wait a minute. They had beautiful craft trucks, and we had, granola bars. And so that was really on the production side of it. So back then, traditional media was the thing. And that was it until all of a sudden digital became super important. Then all the focus went right into digital, and that was really because you could track it, which is really interesting and makes our conversation really interesting for today, because here you are talking about traditional media, and I feel strongly, like, when I talk to my clients, media is media. It's about how it is that your audience is consuming that medium and wants to consume your information. So there is 100% a spot and a place for traditional media in 2025.
Right on. Bruce, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, well said. And I got started after black and white TV, but still back when it was linear editing that was being done. My first job out of college, I edited film, believe it or not, to air on the independent television station that actually was in black and white. And because I was making $4.25 an hour, I had to switch over into sales, which quickly led me up into the Midwest as a sales manager on the television station side. So I think our stations would have been airing the commercials that Chloe's companies would have been producing, right? And it was really interesting when you were explaining that, Chloe. It was really, I went kind of down that mental memory lane trip. I won't sing, but I could still sing a couple commercials from the 1970s where I grew up outside of Philadelphia that I still remember, 50 years later, give or take. The thing that's interesting is I was in television sales management, and we were fighting against the print media at the time because they had coupons and they had newspapers, and somebody would pull out a newspaper and say, I know my advertising works because I can track it. People bring in the coupon, they bring in this ad, and so I know it works. And I'd say, okay, so they're not going to walk in with their TV and say, I saw your ad on TV, so I came running in. But that doesn't mean TV doesn't work. And what's ironic is now, 40 whatever years later, 35, 40 years later, television and the media, including newspapers, traditional media, are getting sandwiched the other way by digital that can show pay per clicks and click throughs and not pay per click, but can show click throughs and can show traffic generated and direct sales now. And there's no doubt that digital is powerful. But I got involved with traditional media because that's what, like Chloe said, that's what there was back then.
So, Bruce, to that point, you talk about the data that you can get from modern digital advertising, and it really is hard to figure out who exactly has seen your billboard or who saw, the back of the bus or who watched the TV commercial. So why is traditional still so important? And Chloe, you touched on this a bit. Why is it still so important to building a brand?
Yeah, I think that what's interesting to me is digital advertising is almost like a drug. If you think about the sales funnel, digital advertising is the now buyer. So you could trade that out for 30 years ago, the yellow pages. And there are no more yellow pages really, but the digital ads are the people that they're Googling, help me find a cellular phone manufacturer. Instead, wouldn't it be better if they're just looking up Apple? And so I think the thing is, it's addictive. It's hard to give up that data that you can link to. What I say to people, most of our clients are regional and local. And what I say to them is, what's going to happen is your Google search, wouldn't you rather have them coming to the name of your business than coming to a general search where they can find other people that look like you? And traditional media really does help you do that. The things that you mentioned, Sean, are the types of channels, if you will, that give you that kind of higher level awareness. And yeah, then people go use Google. But does that mean Google's what led to the sale? You decide.
Chloe, I'll throw it at
If
you.
I may, you bring
Yeah,
a
please.
really important point in that you're right. The Google, especially, I can track footfall with Google, so that the data is incredible that I can get from digital. But I think there's a point to be made, and there's a couple of points to be made here in the importance of traditional media, and that is, we are overwhelmed by the information that we get from a digital perspective. And so much so that we've become a little bit untrusting of that information. And so sometimes those traditional mediums, whether that be television, newspaper, I'm naming some, really help to establish trust. They're mediums that are trusted, therefore a brand that is connected to that medium and a message that's connected to that medium might appear to be more trustworthy. And therefore, when you take that traditional approach and you pepper in a sequential manner, you pepper in some of those traditional messages or those digital messages, I think you then establish that trust to your consumer, which then helps your consumer come along with your brand a little bit more, whether that be a mass awareness campaign or even a product for sale campaign. There's that trust that's really needed. And the other thing I think you touched on, Bruce, is the scope, right? It's important to be able to cast that breadth, again, depending on budget, depending on what your objectives are. But I think that there's importance there.
I always kind of think of it as, now I'm no traditional media expert. I don't really know anything about traditional media outside of 15 years ago when I was hired as an intern by my college alumni to do billboard research for Chicago area to see how many people were driving stuck in traffic, seeing which billboards to put the college advertising on, which was,
I like that,
a lot of people, I will tell you. Probably not as much as the 401 in Toronto, but I digress. I always see it as, as someone who works in brand, I'm always thinking about like the psychology behind it. And you talk about trust. Both of you talk about trust, but the concept of I'm being captive, right? You're stuck in rush hour traffic. You're reading a book or reading a magazine on the beach, right? It's your vacation magazine. Like I have vacation magazines. It's like a very special thing that you are much more engaged and there's so much less noise. And something I thought was very interesting that I learned about, this was probably a decade ago, the rise in movie theater advertising and how much ROI it was receiving because the audience is so captive and most of the time they have their phones off already. So I don't know where I'm going with this, but I guess I'm just curious to get your guys' take if you feel the same way with the sort of captivity, not in a bad way, almost good captivity, right, that comes from traditional media.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that happens is people are so busy doing different things, and Chloe talked about that before, and every traditional media has a distraction index, whatever that is. If it's the radio, you might be on your phone, so you're not listening to the radio. If it's TV, you get up and go run an errand. In the car, you could be looking the opposite way. The billboards there. But even with that, I find that the credibility that you get from traditional media actually builds or aligns with the direct response nature of digital advertising. You can use digital advertising for building brand awareness, or what we like to call brand trust, which kind of combines, Alicia, what you and Chloe were talking about. You can definitely use digital for that, but the credibility that you get from traditional media, it really is different. And I understand the the culture, the world we live in 2024 and 2025 says down with the media, and you can't believe this or can't believe that. But I think that's chatter. I think deep down inside people do believe what they see. And, just to take it a step further, those commercials you make, Chloe, when we're buying media for our clients, we do like to be in sports and news because that's where they're captive, Chloe. People aren't DVRing that. I loved how you call us on that sports game. They're not DVRing the Maple Leafs game. They're going to sit and watch it as they play, the Red Wings or whomever, right? And so sports and news give you a platform where they're captive and where there's credibility that's aligned with the stories that are told in those different events.
The brands, I'll jump in for a second because it's funny, and coming from the legal background myself, the brands that we trust, the ones that recognize the most, did not build their reputations. They may be doing a ton of digital advertising today, but they did not build those reputations based on digital advertising. They based it being on TV and the radio. I have a cousin of mine who was in menswear in Toronto and was very well known because he was on the radio every 7 minutes for decades. Had shows, advertised constantly, really became a fixture of a presence where the second I mentioned his name in any audience, oh yeah, I listen to him all the time. Did a lot of sports advertising, a lot of sports radio, because that's what a lot of the audience still listens to. And, until the day he died, he was a known fixture around the city and even broader than that because he put that time into building that brand very traditionally. Doesn't mean he wasn't online, doesn't mean he wasn't using Google Ads, et cetera, but the trust in the brand trust was built traditionally.
I'm gonna segue on this a little bit because Sean, what you've just mentioned made me think of, all of these e-com businesses, which are so fantastic, but how many of them have grown into bricks and mortar? Again, to your point, it's because people are looking for that tangibility, that they're looking to see it for themselves. They're looking to be immersed in an experience, and I think it makes the point for why that one-to-one is really important, especially now in a world where we have so much happening all around us.
I just have to jump in and follow up to say, if it was all about digital advertising exclusively, do you really think that Google, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Meta, Salesforce, and name any of the other ones would be advertising on traditional television, in outdoor, in any of those other places? Like, all you have to do is look at where the big boys and girls are spending their money, and it's really easy to say, let's just do what they're doing because they have bigger research budgets than we do, and they're all there. So clearly there's a reason. It's not charity that they're buying those commercials or those billboard placements or those newspapers or whatever.
So Bruce, I wanted to talk to you about this anyway, but I think as a really nice segue, talking about misconceptions. So we're talking about the biggest companies in the world right now. You talk about your work you've done with smaller regions and smaller organizations, and I was like last year I was reading a study about the rise of very small regional traditional media, like buying up commercial space, like you can do now for like a Super Bowl ad or something, but it only is in Roanoke, a city of 100,000 people. So I'm curious to get your take on like misconceptions around traditional media that you have to spend $50 million for it to work. Like, isn't that true?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I used to speak when I worked in Toledo, Ohio. I would speak to different student groups. And I was at the time a sales manager at ABC station. I'd say, how much do you think it costs to advertise in Good Morning America, which is, for those of you in Canada, an American news show? And I'm joking. Anyway, and they would think, they would compare it to a commercial price in the Super Bowl, and they'd say, $1 million, 100,000, 10 million. And no, back then it was, $150. And now it's probably still $150 in certain markets because people, the viewership has gone down some, but also you're not buying the whole nation. You're buying Toledo, Ohio, or you're buying, if it's in Toronto, the equivalent, I bet you it's $750. I'm making that up. I have no idea what it is, but it's more, it's usually a multiplier, but it's not exorbitant. It might be $7,500. And so you're exactly right. Once a year, people hear about advertising prices in the States, and that's right before the Super Bowl, and they say it's $10 million. So people think it's expensive, but you could put commercials on Spotify just in a certain area, or you can, which is digital, but it's also becoming mass media, right? And so, yeah, I think one of the biggest misconceptions is how expensive it is. And it's not that expensive. I'm not saying it's, there isn't an investment to be made, but it is very reasonable in a regional or a local situation for sure.
I'm going to add to that because
please do.
you're right. There is a huge misconception around the cost of it, because there's always a way to make things,
That's right on.
affordable. Yes, it can be a little bit more expensive than digital, depending on what your objective is. But I found what you touched on was interesting, and you touched on it a little bit, is that here you've got these traditional mediums, and you put Spotify in there, which you're right, it is. But guess what? It's trackable. And one of the big misconceptions is that you can't track your traditional media. And that's not true. You can track, there's been so much evolution done with mediums. Look at your out-of-home boards, and some of them are digitized so much that you can actually then play back to somebody an ad. You can retarget them once they've passed your billboard. And so we have gotten to a great space from a technology standpoint. So you're able to do that mass awareness or reach, but by the same token, you are able to track it. And so there does become a point of, and I'm not going to say the word ROI, because your ROI is so big when you do an awareness campaign, but by the same token, you can still track what it is that you're getting back. And that's why it's important that it is part of your media mix.
Chloe and I can't help it. We just keep building on each other. So I hope that's. But I think what's interesting.
It's the Chloe and Bruce show.
I have to throw a question in because I am curious about something as we go on. But Bruce, feel free. Don't let me cut you off.
I was just going to say this is the wild, wild west in a different way, because you can really have the best of both worlds if you're a smart marketer. Attribution's always been a challenge, and it's still a challenge. I talked to business owners for the last however many decades, and they say, well, we ask people, how did you hear about us? I'm like, that's great. It never hurts to do that. But come on. Come on. Do you really think that somebody knows why they called you or came in or did that thing that they did? It's usually a mix of reasons. And that's what you're saying, Chloe, and it's so true.
Now, I'll make a shameful confession. I am one of the many that fast forwards the PVR and skips through the ads on YouTube and skips through the ads on Spotify.
Yes.
I think it's generational, but I know a whole lot of folks do it. Has that changed the game significantly from your vantage point when it comes to traditional media advertising? The ability to edit out, so to speak, the commercials?
Go ahead.
I'll just say I do the same thing, Sean, except when I forget to. How many times are you sitting there and you say, oh, shoot, I forgot to fast forward through that commercial? And if the commercial's good enough, I'll watch it, right? And
my wife makes a groaning noise. Trust me, I'm reminded.
and so I do think you could always get by those. You could leave the room and go get a snack in the other room, or you could do whatever it is that you did. So that's never really changed. I think it's up to the creative shops to make better commercials that interrupt people, and you'd be surprised how many slip through when people aren't thinking about it.
I'm going to add to that. I think you're listen, Sean, it's a fact. People will skip over commercials all the time, but your Spotify ads, your radio ads, your TV, OLV, those aren't the all in and be all. So just to be clear that there's more than one way to tell that story. But I think, and yes, it is true that there is a possibility to make creative that much more engaging. I agree. And connected to the audience. Again, you need to be able to have the right message for the right audience on the right channel at the right time. So there's no doubt about all of that. But I think with and I'm going to use the term digitization of traditional media, and I hope you understand that that's more that the fact that traditional media is evolving in the way that it's fed to us. I think that the difference is that you can tell how many people are skipping your ad. And so what's great is that you're actually not paying for somebody who skipped your ad. So go ahead and skip, Sean. That's okay. I'm going to find you another way.
Yeah, and of course, there's a reason why it's the Toyota halftime show or the Hockey Night in Canada intermission, and it's because it's integrated. It's in the middle of the program. So keep sponsoring those weather forecasts or those, radio studios or whatever, because they're there for the content, and that has gotten so cloudy lately where it's hard to tell one from the other, where the content and the sponsors stop and start. That's intentional.
I think it is so important that when you look at your mix of media, look at who you're trying to talk to and what you're trying to tell them. Because I think that's the key. And that, Sean, maybe whoever's serving up your ads, I'm being facetious, but maybe whoever's serving up your ads, they don't understand who you are and what you need. I'm just saying.
I contain multitudes. There's a lot there.
He's like an onion. He's got so many layers.
That's where I was going. But
I'm laughing because I'm thinking of the most outrageous ad that has ever been served up to me, and it was a store for priest clothes, where you could buy the clothes the priests wear.
No way.
Cassocks that you need last
I couldn't
minute.
even make this up. Where does that even
Oh, if I were the client on that, I'd be very concerned about the media buyer.
So funny. Oh, man.
Very concerned.
Oh man. What has shocked you most about the industry in the past year? Chloe, I'll ask you first.
Yeah. You're gonna ask me first? I think it's thinking short term. And especially when we talk about the ability that consumers have to absorb a message and to pull an action, and this is especially if you have a new product. Here you are thinking, okay, well, in a month I should be able to run my campaign, get all my results, etc. But yes, if it's a short-term retail component to your ad, but I think that we need to be able to pull things back a little bit and go back to thinking, what is the long term? What do we want from a long-term perspective? What do we want from a medium term? And what do we want from a short-term perspective? So much around me is filled with, what is my ROI right now? And oh my goodness, did I really pay X amount for an OLV that didn't drive a ticket sale? And it's like, well, yes, because it's going to drive a ticket sale probably in 3 months, and you need to build up that capability. But it's like, no, that awareness ad, it didn't drive a sale. But and Bruce, you touched on that. It might, but we don't know that until we really have our modeling done and our attributions, filled out.
It hasn't really changed in the last number of decades that people are ready to give up on marketing that's just about to start working or is working, or they're afraid it's not working. I'll tell you what, fear is one of the biggest motivators in the advertising world. Fear of the other guy, fear this message isn't working, fear I'm going to get in trouble from bosses. And, people that are willing to be a little more daring, usually are the ones doing creative like Chloe's talking about. I think for me, the other thing that's been around for decades is a big shift that's happened here in the States is they have monopoly restrictions. I'm speaking in particular about television, where you can only own a certain percentage of the country, and where you can only own one major television channel station, if you will, in a market. And that's led to a lot of upheaval over the last 30 or 40 years as stations were sold, and there's been a lot of consolidation. I think what they've realized is they can't make as much money as they'd like to. Most of these TV station sales departments are focused on digital, just like we were talking about the new media, and they've forgotten the power of the local advertising that's what they're selling at the television stations. And so now there's going to be a consolidation. There's a couple station groups already testing it, and the current administration, I think, is behind that happening. And to me, it's fascinating because that was a big no-no, and it was all about not putting too much power in the hands of too few people, which political comments aside doesn't seem to be a big fear for a lot of people right now. So that was a shock that's getting kind of blown up, because that was a huge differentiator, especially in the television industry.
I want to be mindful of your time, but we're going to go for one last question, and then Alicia's got one really fun bonus question we're going to throw in at the end that we always go for. Chloe, I think you touched on this with, abandoning what's working, but from each of you, I'd really love to know the one piece of advice you have from someone who's looking to incorporate traditional media into their broader marketing strategy, but maybe doesn't even know where to start. What would you say to that person?
My advice is it's pretty simple, and go back to your strategy. Go back to who you are, what you're trying to do, who are you trying to talk to, what is it about them, and don't broad strokes this, like really go and dig in those insights to really plan out where it is that you need to be at what point. Right? What you don't want is your awareness, your engagement, your conversion tactics all running at the same time, because nobody knows what they're doing, and unfortunately, you're wasting some dollars. So really think through, what is your user behavior? Who is it that you're trying to talk to? And really think through, what does that ecosystem look like for that person?
Love that.
I love that. What she said is how I'd answer it, Sean. But I guess to kind of build on it, with the branding work I know that you do, Alicia, personas are really important. So think about who it is you're talking to, and the best branding, the best campaigns reach people where they are. They're not usually about the product or the service you're selling. They're about what's in it for the recipient. And I think simple as how Chloe started it, and you really can follow your instincts here. You might want to get help from a company that helps, but your instincts are probably not terribly too far off, and you may not know how to do it, but there are people that have been doing it for a long time that can kind of take you through that process. But I think we started this podcast, this program, the same way we're going to end it. It's about the mix, and mixing those different media outreach channels in a cohesive way is the way Chloe has shared it, and it's really the smart way to play it. It's like anything else that you haven't done. You got to figure out how to do it, and then you do, and then it becomes easier and easier.
Thank you. We will segue into the final question, which is your surprise question.
The fun one. All
right, it's a new one. I've never asked this one before. Bruce, I'm going to ask you first, because I know you. Well, Chloe, I know you now too, but I've known Bruce for longer, so
that's okay.
Here we go.
I don't even know where she's going with this. This is
what's something you do that drives your friends and family crazy?
Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
Do I have to just say one thing?
I mean, yeah. I know we got to be sensitive of time on this. I don't know how long the podcast can go.
Yeah. So one of the things that's been great about this podcast is it's been really natural to hear the questions and to hear what Chloe and I, have shared a lot of the same things. I get excited, and my way to actively listen is to verbally agree. But sometimes when I verbally agree, I'm speaking over somebody, and I don't mean to do that. I'm just like, yeah, Chloe, that's right, Chloe. Yes, Chloe, tell him. And they're like, maybe you could let me finish my sentence before you tell me your story that's the same as my story. So, I mean, I would say that's probably among the biggest things. My excitement for whatever the question is or participating can sometimes feel like I'm coming alongside somebody like Chloe, but instead I'm like, okay, I want to tell you that. Yes, that's one. I don't know if that counts. Is that okay?
It's like affirmative interruption.
That's right, honey. It's active listening is what I tell my wife, and I don't think I'm learning how to active listen in better ways. Yeah,
okay, I like that. Chloe,
I like that. Affirmative interruption.
Yes.
I like coined, Alicia. Well played.
Thank you.
I'm writing that down.
Yeah, you should. That is so good.
I mean, an Italian American's going to have every excuse imaginable for interrupting someone. So, Chloe, what's yours?
Holy Hannah. I mean, the list might be a little bit long. I think it might be my level of passion. I can get a little I talk with my hands a lot. I tend to talk loud. And so I think I can get a little bit overbearing at times just because I'm just so passionate about certain things. So I've been trying to be very subdued here. So I hope you've noticed that, but maybe you're like, oh my goodness, if this is subdued, this is going to be really bad in live person.
We didn't mean to, to stomp on your spark, or we didn't mean to,
dim your light.
Dim your light, yeah.
Those are.
I think you wanted it dimmed. Meeting one should always be dimmed a little bit.
Well, Chloe, if this helps, we found more in common again, and you might have noticed I crossed my arms because I knew I would be like flailing my arms everywhere. So you did really well. I think I did okay.
I'm proud of you both.
Here we are.
Sean, as I'm listening to them, I'm thinking, when I was in Toronto, I stayed at Sean's house. I stayed there last year too, and I'm thinking like, oh, what do I do as his guest in his home?
I could list things you do that drive people crazy.
Oh, I do.
Are you guys going to answer the question also, or just the guests?
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Do we answer this about each other?
Oh, this could spark something else. I don't know.
Can our friendship survive that?
Can our friendship survive that?
I'm going to go with yes.
That'll be the test.
Let's stir the pot as much as it can be stirred here.
Oh,
Alicia,
okay.
what is it that Sean does that you find can, grate on some people?
Okay. All right.
I'm
loving this.
Lay it on me. We'll see if the DeSantis sweet locks or not.
So Sean can, if you don't know him well, his way of interacting with you and building rapport can be like joking, like poking fun at you. And if you don't recognize that, there's a lot of, whether it's cultural or there's a lot, I come from a family where that's the case. It can seem like you're being annoyed by him because he'll make fun of you a lot. But he means it in good faith. It's just a way of, building a relationship.
I guess I'll do it when I'm comfortable with somebody, but that sort of takes for granted that they're comfortable with me.
Exactly.
I think in certain people's cases may not be the case.
So, Sean, we've established that you and Chloe are comfortable with each other. What's something you're going to share about Chloe that's going to make her uncomfortable?
Oh, goodness.
Meaning, what's something that that you've noticed that she does to
with
answer
Alicia or
ask
with
you the
Chloe?
same question? Oh, I said. Sorry, I said.
Yeah. No, I don't know
Chloe
that well.
Whoa, with Chloe.
I don't think we know each other enough.
No,
yet,
not
Sean.
nearly enough.
Actually, let me just go back and answer the other question, Alicia. That's one of the other things that I do that drives people crazy is I might mix up name. I know what I mean, but the words come out wrong. So try again. I'm sorry, Sean.
That's
What's
okay.
something you can share about Alicia? I almost did it again. About Alicia that that is the same question that we've all been answering about something that might not sit as well with other people.
Oh, goodness. She is a wonderful house guest in my home, and I'm grateful when she's here. I've shared an Airbnb with her where we were in neither of our homes.
Oh, I forgot about
She was
that.
a little messier than she is when she's in my own home. So I might have put some food away after her because
Okay.
I'm a little anal retentive.
I have a legitimate problem, and I recognize this, where I don't like putting food away until I know I'm absolutely done with it. So if I'm having coffee, like I'll leave the milk out because I know I'm going to go back and get coffee. Or like maybe I want multiple cheese sandwiches. So I'll leave the cheese and bread out because I hate the idea. I think I hate the idea of like opening and closing containers. So I'll wait until I'm absolutely sure. And I recognize this, that I leave open containers of things out all over the place. I have been told this by multiple people over the past
She
few
didn't do
years.
it in my home. She's very good in my home. She respects the space.
If it's
Seeing it in
neutral,
someone else's home was, that was a neutral space. I put a lot of stuff away.
It's awesome.
I don't know,
I love her,
Alicia. I
but I
think
put a lot of
that's
stuff away.
efficiency. I'm going to go with you're just efficient
No,
with your
it's just
time.
a brown avocado, Chloe.
wait, we were in Santa Monica. What else could describe Santa Monica better than a brown avocado?
I was going to say that. That's fair.
Oh my god! All right,
fair.
we need to wrap up this episode.
Before we embarrass each other further.
Okay, Bruce. We already talked about where you can find your book, September 30th, right? That's when it drops. Where else can folks find you online?
So I've got a new website, which is brucecbryan.com, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, and I used to be active on that other channel that was called Twitter, but I'm not there anymore. So LinkedIn and the www are the two best ones. Yeah, that one. So, yeah.
Chloe, what about you?
I can be found on LinkedIn very easily. It's probably the best way to find me.
Awesome.
Whoa! Wow. Okay,
Fantastic.
Sean. I think we're
Yes.
done here.
I think so. We will we'll do our wrap up momentarily. But folks, thank you so much for all of your patience. We had to rejig this a couple times due to scheduling and tech errors and life getting in the way. And we're so glad that we made it work. I think it's probably one of our best episodes yet. So thank you guys. Thank you both.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us. This was so much fun.
You're most welcome.
It was great.
You're welcome.
Glad you
I'll put
enjoyed
in
it.
my agreement. I'll come back anytime Chloe's around that you guys want me here. So just let me know.
Nice.
Me too.
Wonderful.
Me too. I'll do the Bruce and Chloe show again.
I love it.
Wonderful.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You guys run a good show.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. That was fun.
I'm remiss in that I didn't really know much about traditional media, and I've really learned. I mean, the whole concept around it being relatively affordable, I think, was my biggest takeaway from this.
Yes, that to me was huge. It was a correction for me. I had always, and I know a little bit of that traditional media world, less from advertising, but I had done the research before and always thought that it was, crazy unaffordable. And no, not when you have somebody who knows what they're doing. It's really not. And it might be a great way to augment whatever you're doing digitally, which I don't think people give enough thought to.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is just digital, social media, more reels, more shorts, more I think so many modern marketers or modern entrepreneurs just don't even consider it, and it can be a huge disadvantage because it really does serve a place, just like digital serves a place, like in the life cycle of your audience.
Well, the brands, we talked about it, and I think I mentioned, and Chloe mentioned, the brands that you know and trust, yes, they're probably using digital now, but they didn't start there, and they're still not there exclusively. It's not as though they've stopped doing TV in favor of just doing online ads. No, it's a marketing is always a multi-pronged approach, right? So
yeah, that's interesting. I'd be curious. I think that would be a great thesis around the top Fortune 500 companies and what does their marketing mix look like, and how much are they investing in traditional media and how are they using it? Is that I would think it would come back being much higher than what we would think now.
So if anyone's listening to this and wants to, take on a master's thesis, there you go.
I would love to get my PhD in something like that, but
Yeah,
I got to pay off my master's student loans before I go get my PhD.
Stupid American education system.
I know.
Anyway, as enough ranting, where can people find you, Alicia?
You can find me, Alicia DeSantis, at 38th and Kip. That's the numbers 38 and Kip, KIP. Just type that into your browser of choice. I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, 38thandkip.com, and you'll be able to find me. And cool. You, Sean?
The Right Stuff Agency, THEWRITE, Stuff Agency, 4 words. You can search me. I now have someone helping with my socials, so there's a lot going on the corporate pages as well, on the LinkedIn business, on the Facebook page, Instagram, etc. I do some of it myself. I've got some help. It's a lot healthier than it used to be. But you can always find me on LinkedIn, especially, is where I do a lot of my thought leadership, whatever falls out of this gigantic head of mine. For Sean Bernstein, SHAUN Bernstein on LinkedIn. Happy to connect there, follow there, whatever works for you. Let's stay connected. It's been awesome, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks everybody for watching and listening, and we'll see you soon. Take it easy.
Cheers.